Welcome to the Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast, where we explore the fascinating world of herbal medicine and natural healing. I'm your host, Demetria Clark, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this journey of discovery. At Heart of Herbs Herbal School, we're passionate about empowering individuals to harness the power of plants for health and wellness. Through our podcast, we'll dive into topics ranging from herbal materia medicas, clinical herbalism, sharing insights, interviews, tips, and wisdom to inspire and educate our listeners. Hi, this is Demetria Clark, the director of Heart of Herbs Herbal School, and today we have DeeAnna Nagel on our podcast. She is an aromatherapist who's taking aromatherapy in all these different places. So that's really exciting, and I can't wait to share that with you. She's also an author, she's a business, she's a creative, she's an innovator. So DeeAnna, thank you so much for being here. And please, tell us all about yourself.
Thanks for having me, Demetria. It is so great to be here. And I haven't been an aromatherapist for very long. I've been an aromatherapist for about 10 years.
That's a long time.
But I hadn't really put it into practice. So a very long time ago, I decided to become a therapist, a psychotherapist. And so I got my master's degree in counseling, and somewhere along the line, I buried my intuition, went to graduate school, and figured out how to do this thing called counseling. And I think I went to graduate school to justify my intuition. So years later, like 10, 15 years after that, I came out of the pixie closet. And I'm like, I've been using my intuition with my work, but not intentionally. Like I did a lot of forensic work in the early days, counseling families and children and foster care and custody evaluations and substance abuse and all the fun stuff. And I always used my intuition, but I relied on the valid and reliable instruments to back up my hunches. And my hunches were always backed up. So there's my intuition. So at some point, I said, I got to do more with this. Like it was knocking at the door. And I was going through some personal health issues, being called to kind of go down the holistic path instead of the allopathic path. And so, I went gluten-free and I did all the whole foods. And this was years ago. This was before it was a thing. And then one day I literally, like a neon sign, came down and said, "You need to learn Reiki." I'm like, Reiki? I don't even know if I know what Reiki is. I need to learn Reiki.
Pixies
Okay.
were talking.
Yeah. And so I found a Reiki course and took that, and still not really clear what all that's about. And probably about 3 months later, after I did Reiki training, and I'm still doing therapy, private practice and court and all that, a friend of mine who was also a therapist at the time calls me to lunch, and I get there and she's got this like little centerpiece of 10 bottles of something. I'm like, what's going on? And she said, well, these are essential oils. I'm like, no, I don't do that. We don't do that. I can't do fragrance. I can't do oily, smelly stuff. I'm very sensitive, autoimmune. And she's like, no, these are pure essential oils. And I'm thinking, whatever that is. Um, and and I'm thinking to myself, what is this? Did she drink some Kool-Aid? But I got through the lunch and she's like, go ahead and experience some of these oils. And so I tried lemon oil. I thought, well, how bad could lemon oil be? If it's real lemon, who's allergic to lemon? So I did the lemon oil and I got an immediate sort of brightening reaction. And I said, okay, I'm in, because she was my friend. So she said to me that day, use the oils every day in every way. I didn't know what that meant, but I said, okay. And off I went. And from that experience, my life changed exponentially. And I'm not talking just, the obvious, well, my house smells good now, and it's not fragrance, it's not chemicals, it's all natural. It was, my respiratory system, I have a lung disorder, my respiratory system responded. Not a miracle cure, but my respiratory system responded, and hadn't responded to anything in 15 years. So, and that magic oil was eucalyptus, not an uncommon oil. Like, it's been around in my life forever. Where have you been? Kind of thing. But the biggest expansion I think I made was emotionally and spiritually. And I was told a long time ago that essential oils can be the heavy lifters.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're dealing with, it's not that the oils, are the miracle, but they support you in a way that will allow you to open up and experience whatever you need to experience. And that is exactly what happened to me. And I think the reason it happened is because, and everybody's different. We all have magic moments. We all have epiphanies. We all have what some term spiritual awakenings. And for me, the olfactory sense was that opening. So I was opened up to a whole new way of experiencing. I had always been intuitive and a little bit of claircognizance, which is clear knowing, a little bit of clairvoyance, seeing. And when I started using the oils, all of my clear senses just started popping.
Wow. I love that it was just like a friend in a simple moment. Isn't that crazy how transformative interactions? I actually started tearing up a little bit. I was like, because we've all had those moments where it's like just the light switch went on, and how cool is that? That's how it started.
And so, when you have those kinds of experiences, you can't ignore it. I mean, how do I ignore that? And then how do I integrate that into the work I'm doing as a counselor educator, as a coach educator?
Mm-hmm.
And I was told by many of my colleagues, you are committing professional suicide by going down this pixie lane. And I said,
I'm
okay,
glad they cared.
Yeah,
but it's really your career, right? Come on, it's my life.
So for many years, I kind of had my feet in both camps, therapy. And I was, an ethics chair of 2 state counseling associations. So I know scope of practice, I know ethics.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helped me guide myself and others. So now what I do primarily is I teach. I don't see clients anymore, but I teach. I do clinical supervision. I teach clinical supervision. I teach intuitive wellness coaching. I teach essential soul care, which is based on an oracle deck I wrote, which is rooted in essential oils. So essential oils are sort of filtering into a lot of what I do. What I tell professionals, that counseling professionals and coaching professionals and healers, is if I'm the one I'm the girl that can tell you how to integrate this into your practice ethically so you stay in your lane,
Oh, I
right?
love that. I love that because ethics is a huge thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the industries are the wellness industry, herbalism, aromatherapy. There's a lot of ethically ambiguous actors out there. I'm trying to say it nicely. And I love that that is like just such a core for you and that you're saying that because I think like people like hearing that. Okay, it's okay to have an ethical backbone and I can still have a career and I can still have money and I can still have these things that make my business, but I can stay true to my ethical beliefs or the beliefs of my industry or whatever. So I love that you're sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah. And, for therapists, we forget that the the sort of the founders of psychotherapy or psychoanalysis, um, Freud was the first, and then there was, well, the first recognized, and then there was Jung, and Carl Jung was all about all of the woo. Like
Mm-hmm.
he preached woo, he preached psychospiritual approaches, metaphysical approaches. So this isn't new, but in the culture we live in now, therapy is very, very much rooted in the medical model.
Mm-hmm.
So when you become a therapist, I tell therapists, you're now in the medical profession.
Yeah, yeah.
And as a medical professional, you have to check all those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And those boxes say everything must be evidence based. Well, so my thing is you can do some of this other stuff and pair it with evidence based practice. It's
Yeah,
called
absolutely.
projective tools. It's called, metaphorical experiences that help open up the client to get to those evidence based practices.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my big thing right now. I'm launching a course based on the Oracle deck, Essential Soul Care. And it's 49 cards with 98 journal prompts.
The Heart of Herbs Herbal School podcast. Oh, wow. So how can people get their hands on this and then tell us a little bit more about that? Because I think the cool thing with journaling and oracles and prompts is sometimes we just don't have it in us, you know, and then we have a prompt and it's like, oh, okay, this is how I can help myself. Like, so I think we're just so exhausted that I think a lot of people don't realize how useful these tools can be in our everyday life. So please share more about that. That's so exciting and so interesting.
So the deck is 49 cards. So there's 7 sets of 7 cards.
Okay.
Each one is based on one of the chakras,
Mm-hmm.
7 main chakras. And we pair it with what we call an element. So for the crown chakra, we call the element transcendence.
Okay.
For the third eye, we call the element intuition. For the throat chakra, we call it mindset. And it goes from there. The root chakra is sanctuary. Um, and in the guidebook, we we offer a paired essential oil, a paired crystal, a paired affirmation, the oracle message, and then a soul play journal prompt if the card comes up right. And if it comes in reverse, do the soul study, which is the shadow side. Carl Jung
Wow.
talked a lot about the shadows. So it's a really thorough way to sort of you create your own self-help path. You can just pull a card every day. What do I need to know for today?
I love that there's different, it's not just like here's a card and here's a prompt. It's like maybe you're not in the mood for the prompt, right? Or maybe you can't deal with the prompt, but you can go and you can, find the appropriate crystal or the appropriate essential oil and maybe that can help get you there or maybe that's all it can give you for that day. But it's
That's
going to
right.
give you like whatever. I know, like, if I'm going nutso bananas, I know I go to anything in the citrus family and
Yep.
instantly I'm in another world.
Yep.
Grapefruit is my jam. It always has been. So like, just having like that extra, those that like whole list of like prompts, I guess, right? They would be like
Right.
a list of, it can give people tools that maybe they weren't expecting. Or, sometimes sometimes you're just like, I'm not smelling anything today. And then there's another tool for you. Or sometimes you could do all of them. And I think that's really exciting, because I think it's important for people to realize that you can have lots of different things in your toolbox in one place, and you're giving people that in these cards.
Yes.
So
And
I'm
that's the
really glad
point.
that you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point. It's like, we all wake up in different spaces every day. And so there's a playbook that goes with it, like a workbook that teaches you more about the oils and the crystals and what contemplative writing is and
Wait,
how to
there's a
do it.
workbook too?
Yeah,
And
it's separate. I mean, you can just get the deck, but there's also a
that's
workbook.
awesome.
Um, so yeah, so people might choose just to journal that day, or they might just choose to repeat the affirmation 3 times. Or they might just say, this isn't fitting anything I'm experiencing right now. And they put the deck down. And then our suggestion is revisit that later.
Yeah, yeah.
What you went about your day, what came up. We're really big on synchronicity. I co-authored this with Madison Lee Akridge. She's
Mhm.
also a therapist. And we co-authored the deck. But we're really big on synchronicity. So my thing is, if you want to increase your intuition, pay attention to the synchronicities.
Okay. So
Be
could you
intentional.
explain what you mean by synchronicity to everyone who's listening?
Sure, like you hear the phone ring and you know who it is.
Okay.
Okay, you see triple digit or 4 digits over and over in a day. 1111, 444.
Mm-hmm.
You are writing about something in your journal, and the next thing you see on the internet is a book on that topic. Like
Okay.
those are just, sometimes they're very big and sometimes they're
Mm-hmm.
very small. But when you start paying attention in an intentional way, you know, that's the universe's way of saying you're on track.
Yeah. I
You're
love
paying
that. I love
attention
the
to
way
your
that you
path.
described that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're paying attention to your path. So keeping a synchronicity journal is, I think, one of the best ways to increase intuition.
Yeah,
And so when
absolutely.
we get back to aromatherapy, when we pair all of these activities with the oils, we have the potential, doesn't happen every time, but we have the potential to pop open that soul portal through
Mm-hmm.
the olfactory sense, right? There's an opportunity for that to happen. And an
Mm-hmm.
example of that is when I did, for a few years, I had a local aromatherapy shop, brick and mortar, and I did creative writing classes with essential oils. And what I would do is I would pass around, I would give everybody paper and pencil, and I would give the prompt and say, pen to paper, 5 minutes, don't stop. Whatever comes, just write
Mm-hmm.
it. Then I would pass an oil around and do the same prompt again. And often what happened was, without the oil as part of the prompt, the writing was very cognitive, concrete, um, not a lot of feeling a lot of times. And then when you add the oil, it becomes more creative, more feeling. It's left brain, right brain stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's like you
So
tickled their emotions.
exactly. So that's just an idea of how essential oils can sort of take you in a different direction.
Yeah.
And so that's why I felt it was essential to create a tool that involved essential oils.
I love that.
Um, yeah, and I've created, a chakra chart and a wellness chart.
Yeah, I
my
was looking
wellness.
at those. You sent them to me. They are just
Yeah.
so beautiful. Where can people get those charts?
They can get them on my website,
Okay, and what is that?
DeeAnna, DeeAnna, Merz, MERZ, Nagel, NAGEL.com.
Cool. And you're so great that you spelt it out for us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because when we do we always do the transcript so people can read along or whatever. So the transcript will get it right, which is great. So do you have everything available on your website? Or is
Yes,
it just the charts? I mean, is the book available there too?
everything's there. And if you can't find it, there's a search bar. You just put wellness wheel or chakra chart, it'll pop up. So,
Awesome, awesome.
yeah.
That's good. I mean, I love it when people get things directly through the creator, but are they available in box stores also, like Amazon or?
Not the charts, but the books. The Essential Soul Care deck and guidebook is available at Amazon. The playbook is available on Amazon. And
Okay.
my book, Intuitive Aromatherapy, is available on Amazon.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that book up. I would love to hear more about the book Intuitive Aromatherapy.
Intuitive Aromatherapy, it's a really simple book. It's really about how to use essential oils intuitively, even how to use the essential oils as the oracle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got a whole section on, and I used to do that. I had a big bowl when I first got into the oils. I didn't know anything about the oil. I didn't know what oil was for what,
Mm-hmm.
but I had all the oils in a bowl, and I would every day pick 3 oils, singles, not blends,
Mm-hmm.
and then look at my reference guide to see what the oracle message was.
Okay, cool.
And because I really began to see the essential oils as an oracle themselves,
Mm-hmm.
if you listen.
Okay, okay.
And so that was the initial impetus for the book. But really, the book is a compilation of my thoughts and my own expressions over the past 10 years using the oils in this way. You know,
Wow.
I mean, I got to level 2 aromatherapist, and you and I talked about this earlier. I took the anatomy and physiology course and got through it, and my brain's not as young as it used to be.
It's a lot
And
of memorization, let
it
me tell
is,
you. It's like,
yeah.
really?
But I felt it was essential
Mhm,
to have that background because you also people also need to understand that essential oils are extremely potent,
mhm. Absolutely.
extremely powerful for physical um, support, and we can't overlook that. We can't overlook the safety measures we need to take with essential oils. We can't, so for me, being in the role I'm in, I felt like I needed to be very cognizant of the whole picture, even though, coming up with a potion for somebody's physical ailment that's not my gift.
Uh-huh.
My gift is more metaphysical. So
Okay. Okay, cool. So, but I mean, just because your gift is metaphysical doesn't mean people aren't going to take it into the physical, right?
exactly,
So
exactly.
giving people really solid
Yep.
safety information is so important. And in this industry, it's been hard for the safety stuff to get out there
Yeah.
because there is a lot of noise that's, oh, we'll just put it undiluted on your baby's butt. And you're like, what? That child is burned. That's not, you just
Yeah,
burned your
right?
kid. Like, what? And so people, even when you're trying to give what you feel is like really clear, practical information, someone else is going to go, well, what if I stick it up my nose? Maybe it'll work better. And it's like, well, that's not what I intended. So I
Yeah.
love that you talk about safety and you bring safety into the forefront with your work because it's so important. I mean,
Well, yeah.
it's that simple. It's so important.
I mean, how many times in this book do I say be careful, make sure you dilute properly. Don't rub your neck with tangerine oil and go out in the sun, all of that. So, and then I have a whole little piece in the book on ingestion because there's a lot of controversy around that.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
And I'm on the conservative side of that. So it's not that I'm totally against it, but I think it does require a level of skill and a level of intention about how you use the oils in that way. I'm not one that thinks, you need to be ingesting oils every day just because.
Yeah, well, I just remember years ago there was a time period and it was like the thing. And people are like, yeah, I'm taking like 25 drops in my water. I'm like,
Oh,
who
God.
told you to do that? Like, wait, no, stop. Like, how about we try smelling it? And they're like, oh, that actually kind of works better.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no wonder you having burning diarrhea.
Exactly.
I saw this stuff. I'm like, no, and you don't want to be mean. Like, who told you to do this? But like your instant thing is, who told you to do this?
Well, and so this is what I didn't know until I took an aromatherapy course was essential oils in general are very hard for the liver to break down. So
Yeah.
and my perfect example of that is lemon. Okay. Lemon essential oil does not come from the rind. So, I mean, from the juice. So when you're dropping drops of lemon essential oil into your water, that is not the same as a lemon drop because it comes from the rind.
Yeah. It's a whole different part of the plant.
Right? So, yeah, that's probably not going to do what you
We
think
just
it's
don't
going to do.
absorb it the same way.
Right?
It is it's scary, some of the information that's out there. And I think once you're in the industry, you've been around essential oils for a while. Sometimes you're like, you can't help but just laugh. Like, I can't believe this is still out there, that this is still making the rounds. Like, this has got more life than, anything else. But I think like the practitioners that just keep, okay, I'm just going to keep, it's easier not to talk about the safety, but they keep talking about it, right? It's just going to do the industry a world of good because I think we're starting to break through, like I used to get hate mail, I guess is how you'd call it, from people who worked with certain oils from certain places. And they'd be like, you're giving wrong information. And I'm like, look, if you spill it on your table and it strips the finish off, you probably shouldn't be drinking it. And they were like, oh, wait, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, have you ever seen the furniture stripper, the Citra brand? And they're like, yeah. I was like, read the ingredients. It's essential oil. I mean, obviously it's industrial grade and it's different.
Right.
But I'm like, why would you drink it? And they're like, oh,
I mean,
like, you're not being mean. No, I'm not being mean and I'm not selling anything. Don't drink it.
Right. You can use lemon essential oil the same way you can use goo off to get a label off.
I do.
Right.
I have I had children who magic markers and paint and bubble gum. Sometimes that grapefruit would be pulling double duty.
There you go.
Make mama feel calm and get the stuff clean. No, it's good that you're talking about safety in all of your materials because I think it's easier sometimes for us to just skip over that. And I think it's good that people are not skipping over it anymore. Like if you read some of the aromatherapy books from 20, 30 years ago, they don't really talk much about safety at all. They don't talk about ingestion because no one was drinking it then.
Right.
Or very, very few people, or people would be like, no, it's French style. That's not true. There's no such thing. It's like, it's all marketing terms, and I think that it's good that you talk about safety, even with the spiritual or the metaphysical aspects of it, because that's really important. We want people to feel safe when they're in those spaces too.
Well, and even if you're diffusing essential oils, you know, I see some essential oil blends or diffuser recipes on the internet. They're like 15 drops in a diffuser for one room.
It's a
No,
lot.
less is more.
Yeah, your
So
baby didn't fall asleep because it was relaxed. It was sensorily overloaded and shut
right,
down.
right. So, you know, and that is to me, that's a safety concern. If you don't want to overstimulate yourself, overstimulate your olfactory sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so, and a lot of it is common sense, um, at least I think. But
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say, yeah. Okay. I think every time when we as professionals are like, it's common sense, it's like someone in the world's gonna be like, slap.
yeah, well,
And you're like, yeah, okay.
well, and then the other piece of this is even with ingestion, you know, in terms of spiritual or emotional development, paying attention to what your body, mind, body, spirit, not just your physical body, your oral, your
Yeah,
aura, your astral spine, however you want to, your soul, however you want to think about that. Being in touch with what your body needs. And so many people, you know, and sometimes that's just allowing yourself to drop in and pay attention.
yeah, yeah.
And so many people follow somebody else's directions
Mm-hmm.
rather than just paying attention. Like if you smell an oil, yeah, I've heard this. I mean, well, if you smell an oil and you don't and you don't like it, it's probably what your body needs. No.
And so your body is saying no. I know. I think that's so funny. Or like it's a healing crisis. No, you just burnt the skin on your back. Like you should not use undiluted whatever. And I'm like that, that kind of we're gonna hurt you to make you better. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm like, I want you to feel better. I don't want you to be like, I think sometimes when we have a reaction to something in our environment, it may be something we need to like take a look at. Like, why is this bothering me? I don't feel like what we use to heal and make ourselves better should be making us violently ill or hurting us or
Right.
scaring us or having us relive trauma. That's saying, let's move to a different tool in my philosophy.
Yes, and there is something that I've experienced many times, which is called scent memory.
Mm-hmm.
It happens to people who smell any kind of aroma or fragrance. It's not just with essential oils.
Yeah.
Um, and having been a therapist for years, working with people with trauma, I know that sometimes trauma victims are triggered by certain smells, by certain
Yeah.
aromas.
Absolutely.
They might have memories. And so a scent memory is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those scent memories, even with essential oils, can be good or bad.
Yeah.
So, a scent memory, for example, if you smell lavender essential oil, pure essential oil for the first time, you may get a trigger that has nothing to do with the pure essential oil, but it reminds you of the laundry detergent, the chemically laden laundry detergent that gave you a migraine 3 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because there
Yeah.
is lavender essential oil in that laundry detergent, but there's also the vat of chemicals along with it, which is what gave you the headache. The flip
Absolutely.
side of that is my first scent memory with essential oils was geranium.
Okay.
And when I smelled geranium, I was immediately taken back to my grandmother's backyard and her geraniums in the yard. Like it was an
Oh,
instant,
wow.
it was just an instant here. I landed right in the garden.
I love
And
that.
that was lovely. I mean, it was like she was in the room. So
Yeah.
my point with all of that is when you smell an oil and you don't like it, don't necessarily, run the other direction. That doesn't mean you need to inhale it or diffuse it or whatever, but just allow yourself to be open to what comes up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when I talk to so I train doulas too. And so when I talk
Mhm.
to our doula students, I do say to them, like, look, if you are working with someone who's been open about having had some kind of traumatic event in their life, I will ask, like, is there a scent associated with that?
Mm-hmm.
Because some people, if they've been hurt by someone who's wearing like Old Spice cologne, for
Exactly.
example, right? And then you're trying to give birth and a nurse comes in the room wearing that, you at least know, like, okay, how can I, make this situation different for them? And we forget that, like, most memories in our life are associated with a smell. We just don't think of it in that context.
Right.
People know what their grandmother's pie smelled like, or I will forever, until the day I die, know that my grandmother, and I can smell her Gina Tay
There, yes.
and her body splash from when I was little, and what the powder smelled like. And or people will be like, oh, the iconic scent of Chanel No. 5 or whatever. But these are the reasons why they stick with us, is because they are part of our memories and they are part of our experiences. And I liken that sometimes to the equivalent of like watching TV and scent, because you can bring back, but unfortunately you can also bring back bad. You can
Yes.
also, and so just being aware of that as practitioners, I think is great. And I love that you brought that up, because I think people sometimes forget the scents that are in their life and how important they were in different parts of their life. And that sometimes if you are having a visceral reaction, sometimes you'll know why, and sometimes you won't be sure until you spend some time thinking about it. And there's nothing wrong with, before you purchase something or grab something to use, that you take a few minutes and just think about it and say, okay, maybe this isn't something I want in my life. I'm not having a healing crisis. I really don't want this in my life. Or, oh, okay, there was good with that and bad, or whatever.
Well, and I actually give a little example protocol in my book about how to not be overwhelmed by essential oils, because
Oh, wow. Love
if you
that. Love it.
right, if you get a kit from somewhere and it's got 10 or 12 bottles of oil, okay, that can be really overwhelming. So I suggest, right? I mean, come on.
Let's rub them
So
all
let's
over our body at once because we're overexcited, right?
so I suggest, my first suggestion is start with lemon.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I
Start
started
with
with.
something or whatever.
And hold it down like by your chest and bring the bottle up slowly to your nose. Just allow your body and your senses to take it in.
So you
And
don't think people should just slather it all over
oh,
themselves
please
in the
no.
first 2 seconds?
Please no. No. Um there it's also that these are, in my opinion, they're like, it's like little beings in a bottle. You don't want to exploit the oils. They
Yeah,
are Earth's gift.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we're so fortunate to be able to have that bottled gift,
yeah,
because they didn't have that 100 years ago, 400 years ago, 1,000
yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
In order for them to get the essence of a
Wait,
plant.
cavemen weren't extracting essential oil?
No, I don't believe they were. To get the essence of the plant, they had to work really hard for it. So, you know, technology is why we have those little bottles.
Absolutely. I am really a huge fan of less is more. And so people will
Hmm.
always assume, because I teach aromatherapy and I practice aromatherapy, that I'm all about everything being aromatherapy. And I'm like, if you can get by with like half a drop, why would you use 20? Like, if
Right?
your body has become so attuned and you can use less because your body responds quicker and feels better faster, why would you use 20 or 60 or 80 of something when you can, now get by with 3 or 4 drops? And they're always like, they don't believe that our bodies
Well,
can start
we
filling in the pieces, right?
we live in a culture that bigger is better, more is better.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and while we're on the topic of, less is more, etc., the other important piece about that is sourcing where the oils come from, because
Yes.
I'm a firm believer, not just with oils, but with anything you put in, on, or around your body. You need to be, even the crystals that you hold in your hand need to
Mhm.
be ethically sourced.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, and I'm not saying that all the oils in the store are or are not,
Hmm.
but if there's not a backstory to those companies, go with a company that has a backstory.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, and they're all purchased on the commodities market overall,
right,
and some have contracts with farmers. The ones that are more ethical, they'll let you know what their story is because they're proud of
exactly,
it. They're
exactly.
proud of all of the work that they're doing to get the product to you, and they can show you a paper trail. And I'm so glad you brought that up. I am beyond weird with this kind of stuff. As far as
Well,
sourcing herbs and essential oils, it goes into my pots and pans. It goes into my clothing.
absolutely.
My bed sheets are grown in Alabama. Like I'm like, my flour. I know where the flour is grown that we bake with. Because I think that we have a unique opportunity to be as responsible as possible. It's not hard now.
Right.
50 years ago, trying to figure out where everything was from, or in the 80s when we were starting to, everything was plastic and started, the plastic avalanche was coming at us. We didn't always know where everything came from, but now we can just look anybody up and find out who their parent company is and all this. It's almost negligent not to when it comes to things like herbs and essential oils,
I
because they're
agree.
putting the information out there. They're making it really easy for us to find. And if we're only shopping with our wallets, we're going to get what we pay for.
Exactly. And to that point, all of my courses, my material, it is all brand neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have my favorite brands, but um, anybody that's taking a course from me is not going to be expected to be endeared to one particular brand.
Yeah,
I think the important thing is to get the word out that essential oils are a positive tool for many people.
absolutely. I'm a huge supporter of that. I mean, we teach students how to shop, not who to buy from. And
Right.
I think sometimes too, when we get this like kind of romantic relationship with the brand, we're only going to find out they're cheating on us with someone else later. So it's really good to be able to source products on your own without needing, the cult following of one brand or the other.
Right.
And I think that that's great that you're brand neutral too. I think that's something that I think is really needed. Especially people seem to get really into their brand.
Well, and I'm really into my brand, but not in a glammy cult kind of way. Like
Yeah, you
if
like what you
somebody
like.
right, if somebody wants my advice or wants, who do you use? Okay, fine, I'll tell you, but
Mm-hmm.
not as a not as a sales pitch. Does that, not
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I like certain things that I like too. I mean, I my favorite sheets in the world are Redland cotton, but and I'm only saying that because I don't need some essential oil company coming after me for mentioning or not mentioning their brand.
exactly.
But like, hey, if that's not what you're into, you don't need to buy the sheets I buy or like the whatever that I like. And I think that's really important too, that students understand that they really are the ones who are in power over how they decide to practice. And it's their decision. And it sounds to me like you really try to set your students up for having that kind of autonomy and having that kind of thought process where they can come to their own conclusions. And I love that.
Yes, there are many preachers out there. I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
No.
I
I
like
mean,
that.
and
I
I'm
like that.
really
I would be like the worst. I would be the worst at that.
I'm really just here to guide people on their journeys. And most of the journeys are professionals,
Yeah.
being guided to help others. That's what I'm here for. That's my calling. Took me a meandering road to get here, but here I am, and I'm happy to be all woo and out of the pixie closet, and I can add my logic in there when necessary. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what kind of classes are you currently offering? And let everyone know where they can find all of your stuff again.
So DeeAnnaNagel.com. I teach for therapists. I teach clinical supervision, which is very theoretical, clinical application. You're not going to see anything about essential oils in that course. I teach intuitive coaching and transformative coaching. And both the clinical supervision and the coaching goes toward national certifications. And my intuitive coaching course, of course, includes pixie dust and essential oils and all the fun stuff. And then I teach essential soul care, which is based on my deck, and it's teaching healers, coaches, and therapists how to use the deck, not just in their own lives, but with clients to enhance their practice. I teach therapists how to implement the use of essential oils in their practice ethically. And I teach a host of coaching courses for another coaching school that's ICF accredited. So I teach.
That's awesome. And everything, they can find out everything that you do at your website.
Yep. It's all there.
Okay, that's great.
On Instagram, I'm at DeeAnna Nagel.
Okay, and that's DeeAnnaNagel.
Yes.
Yay!
Yay! So yeah.
Well, like I was telling you earlier, I try to make sure I pronounce everyone's name right, because Microsoft Word in its first incarnation used to auto-correct my name to dementia or demented. So,
oh my God.
So I would have the emails back in like 1996 and be like, thanks, demented. Because it would just auto. My husband had to teach me how to turn that off. So I didn't always have my name signed off like that. And eventually it has learned my name. So, a name is important. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait for people to hear this. I think they're going to be really excited to just think about aromatherapy in another way, or think about ways they can bring aromatherapy into practice worlds that maybe they didn't think it would be in before. Yeah. Because I think it's nice that we are learning how to access more intuitive tools in our culture. It's been a long time coming. So I'm glad that there's people like you who are helping people bring that into their world. So thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Demetria.
Thanks. You have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Interested in learning more? Visit heartofherbs.com and enroll using coupon code PODCAST to save 20%. The content provided in this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. It's always recommended to consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or health regime, especially if you have an existing health condition. Any of the financial information and advice for starting or maintaining an herbal business is just that, information. It's not used to be a guideline on how you should run your business. Contact the appropriate professionals to help you to have a successful business.